What's going on, everybody? Here with the new official Cryptyk TV setup. It's really the exact same room. I moved my webcam and got a new microphone. Today, though, I wanted to jump into something a little bit different. Like I said, we're going to be discussing, watching, playing, reading, all things nerdy here at Cryptyk TV. And so I wanted to jump into kind of a behind the scenes, what they're calling Diablo 4 inside the game, the world of Sanctuary. So I was a big Diablo 2 fan back in the day. Kind of fell off with Diablo 3 because it was just, I don't know, little cartoony, little high fantasy. It just didn't fit the vibe for me. So I've been following along with Diablo 4, pretty stoked about it despite all the shadiness and kind of degradation of Blizzard over the last few years. But either way, really excited. So we're going to hop into it. I'm going to let you know what I think.
Sanctuary is the world in which the story of Diablo takes place, and it's the battleground for the souls of humanity and the fight between angels and demons.
Sanctuary is a vast world, and there'll always be something new in every area, like hordes of enemies, safe haven towns, resources to gather, events, quests, and more.
All right, before they jump into what I'm assuming is art direction. So safe haven towns, somebody brought up that I'm kind of excited for because, you know, as you know, in Diablo 2, and I think if I remember from Diablo 3, like you had a town in each act and that was about it. You've got your vendors, you've got your gambling, you've got quest hubs, and it's kind of just like you go from there, you venture out into the world, and you can always TP back and like, all right, you're back. I think Diablo 4 is introducing something where like you're going to have more, because it's more of an open world game, you're going to have more open world opportunities to run across safe havens and towns where you can do some of those things, but you're not always required to go back to like the town for the act. So I think that's going to be kind of cool. And then just, yeah, I mean, we're going to get into art right here, but stylistically, everything just looks so much like it has that grit, right? So like Diablo is gritty. Like even the cinematics in like Diablo 2, they are like dark, and honestly, even some of like the choppiness of them, because that game's 20 plus years old at this point, like it just added to the feel. And D3 was just too bright and polished. So I like the direction that this is going so far.
We wanted to bring Diablo 4 artistically more back towards like Diablo 2, the much darker style. It's very macabre.
The artists
Macabre, there you go.
So much fun working on it, and it's just been a joy to create for us. Much fun working on it, and it's just been a joy to create.
All right, like right there, right there. You've got like body parts splayed out everywhere. You've got like some clear ritual going on, and then like outside of it, it's just like dingy, dark, dirty, sandy. If you've played Diablo, you know there's gonna be a lot of sand in probably Act 2.
Create for us.
How would the people of Sanctuary show their world? What kinds of art would they use to describe the world? One of the things we really wanted to do was make the game feel like a painting.
Everything
I like that.
by a wonderful group of people who love Diablo as much as you do.
We have 5 unique...
Just really quick, people that love Diablo as much as I do, a lot of the things I've been watching have shown developers and artists really talking about D2 a lot. So like I'm happy that they're recognizing that that was the high point, at least for like the art and feel of the game. So we'll see if they go back to it.
zones.
Each of the regions has its own kind of flavor and ambient life.
We take a lot of influence from what our concept artists give us, and I know they take a lot of influence from real life.
There's Kyrgyzstan, which is the sort of
Act
desert.
2.
It's amazing with its sweeping sand dunes.
Skazglen, which is inspired by Scotland. Fractured Peaks is inspired by the Carpathian Mountains.
The dry steppes is sort of our mountainous desert
Act
region.
2.2.
And Hawksark is the swampy region of the south. Whether you're on a mount or on foot, it's a joy to go from one region to the
Pretty
next.
stoked
Also,
about
the
mounts, too.
region
That looks
transitions are
pretty.
really beautiful and stunning to see.
Making sure that it felt sort of geologically true.
I will say that I'm not against like brighter areas, right? Like it is still a big open world, and Sanctuary is this big open world, and while it's been like ravaged and torn apart by this fight that happens, you know, between heaven and hell, it's like it's still a place, right? Like so they just showed the ocean and the beach. That looks like it looks nice, but there's still skeletons and scorpions and stuff. Like I'm okay with this because breaking up the monotony here and there is okay.
Full and stunning to see.
Making sure that it felt sort of geologically true was really important. If you walk from Fracture Peaks into Hawazar, you'll cross all of these waterfalls caused by snowmelt. So you can actually see the snow melting into
That's
Fracture
sweet.
Peaks through waterfalls, entering into Hawazar and entering the large basin that fills Hawazar with all of the swamp water.
We had all the different environments in the overworld, and we tried to make sure there was some parity with those in the dungeons. We have dungeons that are flooded, and there's like moss everywhere. It very much fits in with Xgazclan environment. Kyrgyzstan is all desert, so we have dungeons filled with sand. All the dungeons are particularly placed to make sure that they feel like this is a
Makes
thing that
sense.
could be in this part of the world. It fits here.
I'm gonna get sick of the sand act no matter what.
We definitely redesigned some of the monsters. For example, the Fallen family has gone through a major redesign to make them feel more grim, a little scarier, a little darker, to match the tone of Diablo 4.
Monster families are a way to
Dang,
describe
they
the
do look a
group
lot
of
different.
monsters
They're
that
almost like
create
just
a
like
combat
little
area.
goblin-y
Monsters
dudes in
groups,
D2.
Swarmers, melee, or casters, and
Which I'm okay with them changing it up. Like it's got to advance.
Vampires or the drowned or the undead.
Ooh,
And all of them have
Used to sum up the vampires or the drowned.
I like that. It's very much like Act 3 Diablo 2 feeling. Like kind of, it looks like he's carrying like the post from like a dock or something. That's pretty sweet though.
Or the undead.
and all of them have unique abilities, but they all synchronize together. They bolster each other and improve how they work on the battlefield so that every time you fight a pack of, let's say, goatmen, it's always different.
We wanted to make sure that the monster families all felt
What about
like
cowmen?
fit in their environments, and so our creatures
You know what I'm
did a
talking
really
about.
good job of making these different versions of them that have adapted to their environment. There's snowy goatmen and fractured peaks in some of the colder areas versus lightning goatmen are in dry steppes and kind of the more arid areas. Hawazar has a lot of poison spiders.
Each of the regions has its own kind of flavor.
Gonna hit those
Pretty
poison
exciting to
spiders.
discover.
We have some really cool new
Very
snake men. the
Mephisto-y.
Nangari. We've seen snake men in Diablo before, but these guys are just really twisted amalgamations of multiple snake heads, even human body parts. We have skeletons, we have undead, we have ghosts, all the things that you would expect to find from a Diablo game.
I don't like.
Spiders have been around in Diablo forever, but the spider host was a cool new twist.
It's a giant spider.
All right, that's
attaches
creepy.
to
I
a
like that.
corpse.
I was gonna say I don't like the big complex spider monsters. I feel like we got that with like the Skeleton King in Diablo 3. So I feel like just skeletons that like are human-sized skeletons, like human skeletons that are like possessed or whatever and walking around. Like those are creepy. They fit the feel. For whatever reason, like the skeleton-y big bosses in like D3 it always just felt very cartoony to me. I think it's because like you scale up a skeleton and it kind of loses that creepiness and like there's no like gore and fleshiness to it, which is really characteristic about a lot of the other monsters in Diablo.
And then puppets it at you, and when you kill it, it explodes with tons of baby spiders, and then those little spiders come after you, and I feel slightly guilty about traumatizing a lot of people with it.
We also have wildlife, deer, snakes, bugs, dogs.
That's
You can
cool.
pet the dogs, by the way.
So many people asked to pet the dog. It was actually a lot of hard work. to
Nothing
figure out.
bad better happen to that dog. Normally I wouldn't expect that, but it's Diablo game,
You
so
have so many activities that you might run into. It could be a stronghold, it could be side quests, you might have key dungeons to do, there could be bounties to pick up, you might encounter a world boss, you might encounter an invasion event of some kind.
We have much longer, sort of narrative-heavy side quests, and we have some shorter side quests, so you never feel like you're always doing the same thing. The pacing is always a little bit different. One of the things that
that's good. The linearity of Diablo 2, while like it's definitely part of the charm, like knowing what you're gonna run through, it leads to like a really cool speedrunning community. But there's a lot of linearity to the not only the main quest line, but like the side quests. They're kind of one-offs. They're go do this, go through these 4 different zones, find where you're going, kill this monster, or pick up the scroll, TP back, and like that's about it. So some variety is definitely going to be good, and some choice of what is necessary and what's not. Just embracing some of the open world elements I think could be really cool in a Diablo game, but I hope that you still have the opportunity to kind of play that linear optimized path through the story if you'd like, because that feels very characteristic of old school Diablo 2. That's what I think.
What I really loved about our announcement was the By 3 They Come cinematic.
The
I was able to
if you
build
haven't seen the
a quest
cinematic, it's
where you actually get
badass.
to go to those places. You get to go to the town. You get to go inside the chapel. And I work with some incredible dungeon designers to build the dungeon from the cinematic. You're going to get to go across the bridge that you saw to the actual room where Lilith was summoned. I don't want to spoil too much.
Nice.
But I'm super
Yeah, don't
excited
spoil
about
anything,
this.
dude.
Sometimes it's kind of nice to just walk places, because that's a lot of the times when you see these little events.
You might find a demonic altar that you need to feed your blood to summon demons to then defeat for all of their loot. You might find a ghost child who's trying to find the remains of their parents, and you have to protect them. We have
Escort
strongholds,
quests. They
which
just better
are
move at my
a
speed.
large area that you can enter, and it has its own story, its own setup, its own sort of art that sort of tells a very specific story about this location, and those stay unlocked permanently once you've beaten back the darkness.
So the strong, like, not specifically just about the strongholds like he was talking about there, but like the fact that there are areas where there's explorable story with a kind of dedicated art direction and some background to what's going on, I think is super important, because there's like a ton of deep lore in the Diablo series. But a lot of that lore is like kind of ancient and based in like the heaven and hell, right? And obviously Sanctuary is where we spend most of our time. Obviously there was heaven and hell in Diablo 3 that we get to go to, and hell in Diablo 2 that we get to go to, and Diablo 1, if any of you played that. But exploring some of that deeper lore of Sanctuary I think is going to be really cool.
We did a lot of figuring out the balance between like how much space do we need for players to play through these dungeons versus how much space do we need to make them look cool. My favorite is this one called Endless Gates. It's got these teleporters, and these teleporters actually take you to other dungeons, so you'll end up in a cave, a crypt, or
It's
one
like
of the ancients.
Arcane
Every time you go in,
Sanctuary
it's very
feeling.
changed.
And there's dozens of villages and towns. That
Looks
you'll run
great.
into.
The cities and towns are designed to be hubs. They're havens. They're places where you can find other players.
Okay, so kinda
They're places to
traditional,
do all of your
which I'm
visual
cool with.
inventory management.
Each
Finding other
region has
players,
its
though,
main city that you can get lots of side quests and
interesting.
lots of activities.
We've really
How that's gonna
crafted
work.
the world to feel like there's always something just around the corner to find. In Diablo 4, you actually get to walk Sanctuary.
It's a massive place that you can seamlessly explore with no loading in between zones, which is something brand new.
It's a very immersive experience.
What I love about it is that you
I wonder if we're going to be able to, like, I hope they don't just reuse content for the sake of reusing it, but like I would love to see like what Act 1 in Diablo 2, any of the acts in Diablo 2 except for Act 2. I don't want to go back there. You know, like the rogue encampment into the cold plains, into, I'm blanking, but you know what I'm talking about, like all the different zones in like D2. Can we go there? Like, I don't need main story to be there, but like they said, you get to explore Sanctuary. I assume the rogue encampment is still a place, unless it got like destroyed in D3. I don't remember, but it'd be cool to see some of that. Yeah, like Old Tristram, which they'll probably send us back to just because that's like important in Diablo.
You can go in a direction and you might be searching for a particular quest or an item, and you'll come across a stronghold that you haven't explored before. You'll come across dungeons that have legendary affixes, or you might discover a side quest that you didn't even know about that fills in some bit of lore that you actually were interested in. There's any number of things that can happen along the road to your destination, and that's what I love about having this fast space.
There are tons of different types of events in the world. It's been created to feel full of things to encounter, full of secrets to discover, full of characters to interact with, full of stories to find. We have these altars to Lilith that if you can find them, they will give you a permanent buff to all of your characters across the game. There are tons of them hidden everywhere.
Interesting.
We also have these massive world.
I like accessibility and I like buffs. I don't know if I like the account-wide buff because like all my characters feel very individual in Diablo, other than like the the item sharing and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I like that he's like, oh, there's going to be something around the corner everywhere you go, and I hope there's a solid mix of what you'll find kind of across the world. And what I mean by that is like endlessly fighting through mobs in any of these games. Like I think about some of the caves in like D2, Act 2, where it's just like you're click, 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 and you're walking like 3 feet every step just to like spam a bunch of stuff to clear a hallway to continue to do that, like to where you can't move because there's just so many mobs. That gets annoying. So I hope that they find a good balance of those things that we will find and encounter around every corner.
World bosses that are so big the camera actually has to pull out even further, and you're going to have an opportunity to fight these bosses with your friends or
Sweet.
with strangers to take down these huge world bosses.
And the team has done just an incredible job.
Seen this in one of the
Sanctuary,
earlier
worth
like
exploring,
trailers.
worth investing yourself in.
This cinematic was also badass. All right, yeah, I mean, like, I'm excited for this game. I'm super stoked. I'll probably play the open beta. I've kind of been against just pre-ordering games, especially from Blizzard, because I feel like they need to earn it again. So I don't know that I'll be playing the early access, but we'll see. My resolve if that stays strong, but I'll probably play the open beta. But yeah, super stoked about the game. Excited about the exploration piece, the open world. The fact that it is an open world with more to do than some of the linearity. But again, I hope we can choose to take kind of the linear path that feels like a classic Diablo adventure. Really excited, obviously, for the loot and itemization, because that's a key part of any of these games. And then, yeah, just I want to see how the open world interaction with other players feels, right? I always like the ability to have my own adventure and play solo if I wanted to, but then, you know, interact and group up if I needed to, or if I was doing bail runs or anything like that. So super stoked to see how it works out. I'm going to play either way, but we'll see if they can kind of catch lightning in a bottle again like they did with D2. It's going to be hard to do, but, you know, it'd be pretty sweet. So yeah, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Are you excited for Diablo 4? Are you going to play it all? Is this your first time in and you don't really know what to expect? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, like and subscribe and stick around for more Diablo 4 and other nerdy news, gaming, watching, reading, and things that are going to keep nerds moving forward. Later.